Chapter 2. An Intriguing Story. Nancy pulled herself free from the excited woman. By this time, Bess and George, seeing that their friend was in difficulty, darted to Nancy's side. "Police! Police!" the woman screamed again. "My daughter's been robbed." "Who is your daughter?" Nancy asked her. "You should know. You sold her that stuff to put on her cheeks and lips and eyelids. It made her look like a freak." Nancy now understood. "Then your daughter is one of the girls who bought several things from Madame with the cart." "That's right, the big blonde girl," the woman replied. "And it's you she bought them from." "You needn't look so innocent. I saw you wheeling that cart when the horse ran away." Nancy explained that Madame sold the cosmetics, not she. Bess and George supported her story, but the woman would not listen. "I want my money back," she stormed. "My husband and I saved it up raising chickens. We gave Minnie $15 to buy a pair of shoes and some other things she needed. Then along you come with that awful stuff and rob her. What's worse, you encourage her to paint herself up like an Indian warrior. I'll have the law on you." By this time, a group of curious onlookers had gathered about them. "Uh-oh, here comes a policeman," George muttered to Nancy. "What's going on, ladies?" the patrolman asked as he hurried up to the group. "This girl robbed me," the woman accused Nancy. "That is untrue, officer. This woman has mistaken me for someone else," Nancy said quietly. "Then where is the other person?" demanded Nancy's accuser. The girls turned to gaze toward the spot where they had left the cart. It was gone. Madame must have taken it away. "I want my money back." The woman resumed her tirade. "See here," the policeman said sternly. "You're creating an unnecessary disturbance. Exactly what is your charge against this young lady?" "That she sold my daughter a lot of worthless things the girl doesn't need." At that moment, a man stepped up to the group, introduced himself as Professor Atkins, and said he had seen the whole episode from down the street. Smiling at Nancy, he told how she had saved the flower-decked cart and had not received so much as a thank you from its owner. The woman turned pale. I guess I've made a mistake," she muttered. She retreated hastily. Nancy thanked the professor. Then, eager to leave, she quickly led the way to her car and drove out of town. En route to Candleton, Bess opened the bottle of Mon Coeur perfume she had bought. After she had sniffed the perfume, the girl gazed at her companions a bit sheepishly. "I'm afraid I was gypped," she said. "This isn't as good as the sample." "It's fragrant anyway," Nancy remarked, as Bess held the bottle under her friend's nose. Then George sniffed at the bottle. "Take my advice and throw it away." "And waste all my money?" Bess recorked the bottle. "No, I'll keep it." The road no longer offered the monotonous scenery it had on the other side of Fisher's Cove. Instead, it ran lazily along moors carpeted with low-growing juniper, and at points the rocks split into colorful masses over which the sea's filmy spray leaped playfully. "We're not far from Candleton now," Nancy declared, as cliffs loomed in the distance. The car rounded a sharp bend, and the girls caught their first glimpse of Whitecap Bay. Never before had they seen such a stretch of beautiful water. Once only a fishing town, the little village of Candleton was now a fashionable summer resort with gleaming white cottages and fine hotels. Mrs. Chantrey's attractive home stood some distance from the beach, just beyond the business section of town. Nancy pulled to a stop in front of the house. A woman about 50 opened the door and smilingly said that she was June Barber and lived with Mrs. Chantrey. She helped the girls carry their luggage to the guest room and explained that her friend was at the tea room. Mrs. Chantrey had left word that the visitors were to make themselves at home. "Has my father arrived?" Nancy asked. "Not yet," June replied. "I guess he was delayed," said Nancy, hoping that nothing was wrong. "Let's go down to the tea room," George suggested. The girls quickly changed their clothes and set out, taking a shortcut that led directly to the beach. Wandering slowly along the waterfront, they saw many old-time fishermen's houses which had been converted into artists' studios. Men and women sat in the dazzling sunlight, sketching the boats which lay at anchor in the bay. "What can the mystery be that's disturbing Candleton?" Nancy mused. "Everything seems very peaceful here." "Yes, it does," Bess agreed. Presently the girls saw Mrs. Chantrey's tea room, the Saul Sandy shop. Bright-colored umbrellas dotted its outdoor dining area and garden. Every chair was taken. "What a clever name Sal Sandy is," Bess observed, after Nancy explained the tea room specialized in salads and sandwiches. "What does the D stand for?" "I don't know. We'll have to ask Mrs. Chantrey." The girls went inside. They were delighted by the cozy decor and the beautiful flower candles on the tables. The room was just as crowded as the garden. A harassed waitress moved swiftly about, trying to take a dozen orders. Nervous and confused, she showed her annoyance as Nancy stopped her to inquire for Mrs. Chantrey. "She's in the kitchen," the girl replied. "But please don't bother her now unless it's important. 2 of our girls failed to show up today, and we're nearly frantic trying to serve everyone." "Why don't we pitch in and help?" Nancy suggested to her friends. "We've waited on tables before." "It would be fun," George agreed. In the kitchen, they found their hostess frantically making dozens of salads. Mrs. Chantrey, a woman in her mid-40s, was ordinarily a serene and well-groomed person. Now a wisp of gray hair tumbled down over one eye, and a splotch of salad dressing stained her apron. "Hello," Nancy said cheerfully. "Do you need any help?" Mrs. Chantrey dropped a knife. Her face mirrored dismay. "Why, it's Nancy Drew, and these are your friends," she gasped. "How ashamed I am to be found in such a state." "You need help, and we're here to give it," Nancy said with a smile. "Just tell us what to do." "I can't put you girls to work the first moment you arrive." "Why, you're my guests." "We'd like to do it," Bess spoke up. "Then I won't protest any longer. You're a gift straight from heaven. If you can help out for an hour, the worst of the evening rush will be over." Chatting excitedly, Mrs. Chantrey tied aprons on the 3 girls. While George remained in the kitchen to make sandwiches, Nancy and Bess were sent to wait on tables. They went to Dora, the waitress they had met a few minutes earlier, and requested instructions. "You take the tables out in the garden," the girl directed Nancy. "Bess and I will handle the inside dining room. Here are your order pads. Don't try to carry too many dishes, or you may have an accident." "Waitress!" called an impatient voice. "Everyone is in a dreadful mood," Dora whispered. "Some have been waiting nearly an hour for their food." Nancy moved swiftly among the tables assigned to her. She took orders efficiently, learning the names of the dishes which made the Sal Sandy shop so popular, including the dandy tart, filled with steaming hot fish pudding, topped with salmon-colored meringue. The girls learned that the last syllable of the name Sal Sandy was derived from the D in dandy. Customers, at first impatient and cross, soon began to smile. One of the last diners in the garden was a white-haired man with spectacles. He dawdled over a frosted glass of iced tea. Nancy hovered near, hopeful that he would leave, but instead he became talkative. "Do you live here?" he inquired. "No, I'm just a visitor, helping out," Nancy explained. "Actually, I'm not a waitress." "Well, I'm a stranger to this town myself. Came here looking for a belle." Nancy remained politely silent. "Not an ordinary belle, but one that was made in a casting furnace in Boston during the Revolutionary War. A Paul Revere belle. That's what I'm after." "Are you an antique collector?" Nancy asked, becoming interested. "Not exactly. Although, of course, old belles are valuable as antiques." The man gazed at her with shrewd eyes. "They tell me there are any number of old bells to be had around this town." "I wouldn't know about that," Nancy replied. "I arrived here only a few hours ago." I see, muttered the stranger. He finished his iced tea, left a coin by his plate, then went down the path toward the ocean. While thinking about her conversation with the man, Nancy began to clear away the dishes. She dropped the coin into her pocket, intending to give it and the other tips to Dora. As Nancy picked up a plate, she noticed a folded piece of paper on the ground at her feet and brushed it aside. Then the thought struck her that the paper might be important. Perhaps the diner who had just left the garden had dropped it. Nancy picked up the paper. The handwriting on it was very old-fashioned. A puzzled look came over the young detective's face as she read the words, which were in French. "Whoever finds this may become enormously wealthy," she translated in amazement. "In one of my XXX cast bells are embedded many jewels." The paper had been torn in half, and the remainder of the strange message was missing. End of chapter 2.